Hello everyone, this is Dean Kelley with the Georgia Transparency Coalition. Good to visit with you here today. We're visiting with Vanita Hullander, who is a candidate for the Catoosa County District 3 Board of Commissioners. Thank you for meeting with us today.
Well, thank you, Dean. I am so glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. If you would, for those that aren't familiar with you or may not know you that well, you just kind of want to give a brief background of who you are.
Oh, Lord, I am a Heinz 57. There is a whole lot behind. I've been a Catoosa County resident all my life. I was born and raised in Graysville, and so enjoyed growing up in the country, and everybody was close and tight, and that's kind of like our county now. And, I went to New Liberty Baptist Church, and so, of course, after I got married, we still lived in the county, but moved out of Graysville. And although I still consider myself a Graysville girl, I'm married to Eddie Hullander. He's a retired deputy sheriff, and we have 2 children, Chad and Chastity. We have a few grandkids, and I just had my first great-granddaughter.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yes, so we're very excited about that. But, I've always been involved in the community and the county. Just retired as a paramedic, 35 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was on the Catoosa County Fire Department for 11 years. And matter of fact, I was the first female firefighter that was ever accepted on Catoosa County. And I was the first female lieutenant. So I've done a lot of stuff. I've been Catoosa County coroner for 24 years. And during that time, I have been involved to try to make things better for the county. And a lot of the social issues, which as commissioner, my number 1 priority is going to be infrastructure. But I'm not going to forget the things that I have always felt like was important. And I used the coroner's office to bring attention to it. So part of that was, child abuse, child neglect, opioids, methadone clinics, and I have been involved in 5 pieces of legislation. I've served over 51 committees, state, local, and regional, been under some of the governor's boards. And my proudest moment was, the 2 proudest moments is when we finally, after 5 years, got the child endangerment bill passed.
Yeah.
And I was serving as the coroner for the state of Georgia on the child fatality panel. And we were the only state left that did not have this legislation. So it was really hard fought. The time you get through getting everybody's request or conditions to get a bill passed. The time we got through that, we finally got the bill. I was actually very proud of Sonny Perdue and Mark Taylor because they decided to be nonpartisan and make that happen because it was a passion to them, to protect the children in Georgia.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes, it was a very proud moment. Got to stand up there with them when they signed the bill, and I lobbied all over the state of Georgia to get that passed. And my second proudest moment was when the Georgia Pain Management Clinic Act was passed, and we referred to that as the pill mill bill.
Yeah.
There was a time when there was only, I think it was 2 pain management clinics in the state of Georgia, and then when Florida and Alabama and South Carolina and Tennessee tightened up on theirs, we were inundated. We went to over 180 in a year, and they were just pouring in, and then a lot of your private physicians were getting on board because it's good money. People can profit off another person's misery.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I've just always been involved and fought and tried to do what is good for the county, and those passions will stay with me, and I will continue that fight because you can't let those things go.
Well, absolutely.
And so that's the same kind of drive and passion and tenacity that I will bring to the District 3 Commission seat.
Okay. Well, obviously, you've been involved in politics behind the scenes for quite some time
Yes.
on all those issues you just mentioned, and I'm sure there's more. And of course, Catoosa County is just like other counties that go through growing pains, and
Yes.
times are changing and all that. But of course, if you're assuming you'll be elected commissioner, that's going to be going from behind the scenes to kind of the front scenes. So there'll be a difference there. But what's the main motivating factor that made you want to run for this office?
And the main motivating factor was I didn't feel like District 3 was being represented well. Our infrastructure is so bad. And there's a lot of stormwater issues where there has been so much rapid development. I'm not against development. I'm not against growth. I want smart growth. And I really didn't feel like the incumbent had that at heart. The county is just growing so fast. And I don't believe anybody really has a handle on it. And so to see the county, District 3, and it's the county too, folks, what I want to emphasize, there's 4 commissioners. And it doesn't matter what district they are, it's still the county as a whole. So, we're seeing a lot of problems in the county as a whole. Roads are not getting repaired. Like I said, the stormwater issues. I've got a friend that lives in another district, and every time it rains, her backyard and the neighbors merge and make a lake. And that shouldn't be going on. Those kind of things shouldn't be going on. I think there is a lot of fat that can be trimmed from the budget. I don't like the fact that the budget has went up. I believe it's 47%. Yeah. I see some spending that I think that we could put in better places. But mainly, just working for the taxpayers and having them as a representative. And when I say the taxpayers, I'm not talking about property owners. I'm not talking about people that own homes. If you buy a piece of candy in Catoosa County, you are a taxpayer. So your needs deserve to be met. And, making sure that the kids have a good quality education. I'm completely dedicated to that. And working with the school board any way I can, because, if we grow our county and we don't offer anything to the young people to stay here, if there's not jobs, if there's not good affordable housing, they're going to leave. We're providing them with a top-notch education right now in Catoosa. And they have every tool at hand to succeed. But they're going to take those tools somewhere else if we can't give them encouragement to stay. Yeah. So that's what I want to do. And I think one of the ways to make sure these things happen is, we need to have community input. And I don't mean just town hall meetings. I'm talking about citizen panels.
Volunteers.
Yes, this needs to be comprised of elected officials, business people, community leaders, businesses. This needs to be a hodgepodge of folks, and they need to come together. It's like, that saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a community to make a district strong. And so that's what I want to bring to District 3 is that strong sense of community ownership. And I want people to feel like they do have input and they have a say-so. Somebody might not always agree with my decisions and how I vote, but I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, when I vote on something, it's going to be based on my own evidence-based research. It's not going to be the way somebody else wants me to vote or somebody else thinks I should vote. It's going to be what I listen to my citizens, and then I have done my homework, because I'm the type of person that cannot go to bed at night and think maybe I didn't do a good job. Maybe I let somebody down. Could I have thought about this in a different way? So that's why it's so important to me that you got to have input. And if you're not willing to listen to people that may know more than what you do. Because since, I won the runoff, and so since the runoff, I have been meeting with different departments and department heads, had several meetings with economic development. I've met with contractors. I want to know and understand the language. I want to know when they come in with their zoning projects exactly what they're talking about. And you get a lot of this training in commission school, but I want to know it before then.
Yeah.
I want to be familiar with the terminology and have a grasp. But I know that there is no way I can learn everything in commission school. So I've got to depend on people that already are an expert on the topic. And to me, that's the desirable trait of an elected official. My stepfather was city manager of Miami and for 12 years, and he always told me, he said, baby, he said, everybody has ears to hear, but very few people know how to listen.
That's true.
So that's been my philosophy. I have to listen to know that I have made a good decision.
Well, that's fantastic. You were talking about infrastructure and all that. Of course, T-Splosh was a big issue a while back. Of course, in Walker County, it got passed. Catoosa County, it was voted down. And of course, you mentioned the budget and how it's grown pretty rapidly. Of course, I think it has everywhere. So is T-Splosh something that needs to be in Catoosa County? Is that something you support, or how do you feel about T-Splosh? Of course, ultimately, it's up to the voters to make that decision.
It's up to the voters, and that's the way I feel about it. I have a strong suspicion that if it had been presented better, it might have gotten passed. But the main thing was the clause where the monies could be used for other things.
Yeah.
So, the voters don't want that. I think, right now we're already taxed to death. We've got multiple taxes. If the voters honestly thought they were getting a bang for their buck, they may have passed it. But right now, there's such distrust. There's just no way. I'm all about majority. I'm all about the citizens having a say-so. If it ever came back up again, I would want them to make the decision on whether it's voted on or goes back on the ballot.
Yeah.
That to me, that's a true democracy. That's a true democracy. I don't want to be making decisions just based on because I can.
Right.
And I sure don't want to bring in any more taxes to Catoosa County that's not necessary. Will it come back again? I have no doubt in my mind it'll come back again. And some of the last ditch efforts to get that passed didn't go well with the citizens. And, like I said, I'm a Graysville girl. So I know some of you are not going to believe this because you're young, but cars used to not have air conditioning. That was only for the rich folk. And, you were packed in there. And so I remember sitting for 2 hours at the train crossing, no air conditioning, burning up, and just crying and wanting to get out of the car. And that was a weekly or almost a daily occurrence. The people in Graysville deserve some kind of relief. They deserve it. I mean, there's all kinds of road improvements and the bridges and so forth that are going on around the county, but those people, I'm 64 years old. So we're talking when I was growing up, how bad it was. And it was that way before I came along.
Yeah.
And so CSX is not going to do anything about the situation. No. And unfortunately, the state of Georgia gave them a loophole to where they don't have to. So we need to put our heads together and figure out a way to put a bridge across those tracks and let people over there get to work, get to daycare. I mean, guys, when I go to Atlanta for meetings or to lobby legislation, according to the time of day and where I'm going, I allot that time. It is a shame somebody in this county that is trying to get to work has to allot an extra hour just in case there's a train on the track.
Yeah.
That's wrong. And there's people on the other side of those tracks that might need medical attention. I was talking about being in the fire department. You know, it wasn't anything unusual for us to be able to get to the other side because a train was sitting there and wouldn't move. And, you know, we had a guy that had a bicycle wreck, didn't have a helmet on, a car clipped his bicycle, he had a head injury, and I was a paramedic in Hamilton County, and I got them to do professional courtesy. We packaged this guy up. I crawled under a train, and we took our medical equipment under this train, got to the other side, and got to this guy. Tried to stabilize him as much as we could. We packaged him up for a head and neck injury, and we had to transport him in a private vehicle to the state line to get him medical help. People in Graysville deserve more than that. They deserve more than that. This needs to be resolved. So that's where I go back to a citizens panel. Let's put our heads together. There's a lot of engineers in this county that would be willing to work on this project. I found out that there is all kinds of grants that can be applied for, but nobody used the grants. And so going back to grants, that's another plan I have to cut the wasteful spending. We need not a hired, I don't want to hire another employee. We need a contracted grant writer, and we need somebody that is credentialed in all grants. We lose out so much here in Catoosa County because we don't have one. And, you know, the way a grant writer gets paid is according to a percentage of the money they can get for this grant. So there are federal grants, there are railroad grants. And there's somebody living right here in Catoosa County that was raised in Graysville that retired from the railroad and knows every one of these people to go to for the grants. But as it is right now, we don't have a dedicated grant writer. You know, our county manager has the capability, but she's strapped, you know, with her resources. So it only makes sense to me, instead of going up on taxes, you know, and causing a burden or creating another tax, if we had a dedicated grant writer. You know, I would like to see the roads in this county repaired. I mean, it's crazy, and the way we're doing it now, and they're just getting packed. I had somebody come and get me to come and look at their road the other day that had just been recently patched. It's already washed out.
Yeah, that's the problem with the patching. It don't last very long.
No, it doesn't. So we need to actively pursue a means to get this done. Our infrastructure has been neglected for years. It's just been neglected. And allowing the rapid growth with no pre-planning, which there is a plan. Catoosa County does have a plan. They just don't follow it. So that's some of the things that I have in mind. That's one of the main reasons. Like I said, I didn't feel like the district was being represented. But I want to have a voice other than just as a citizen that can sit there and say, look, we're not following this plan. This is all laid out.
Well, why aren't they following the plan? Is it because there's outside influences influencing to go against the plan? I mean, if there's a plan in place, I mean, why even have the plan if you're not going to follow the plan?
I think it's outside influences. I think it's just the plan is very restrictive, but it's actually for positive growth and development in the county, and it lays out the structure of how to develop smart. Keith Green, when he was our commissioner chair, you know, they worked diligently on this plan, and it was adopted, and it was a 5-year plan, but you know, it hasn't been followed.
Wow. So you have a plan in place, but the plan's not being followed.
No.
And just like anything, if you're not following the plan, then it's kind of helter-skelter, so to speak.
That's right. And I just, you know, and I think a lot of times the information is not disseminated, and, you know, I think there's decisions that are made without all the commissioners having input, and or a full discussion.
Right.
A full discussion. And so you can't have a government like that. Everybody's got to work together. You know, it's like, you remember that Bible story about stone soup?
Yeah.
You know, everybody can eat if they bring a stone and they drop it in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I feel about the county. We've all got to drop our stone in. We got to leave our mark. You know, I have laughed and said that, you know, I might be a one-termer because there's, you know, a group of folks that just do not want me in office because I think for myself and I stand on my own 2 feet. And I said I might be a one-termer because they'll run somebody else. But they're going to remember my name, folks. And, you know, there is a write-in candidate. And he was Plan B. And it's by a group of people that have controlled this circuit, not just Catoosa County, but this circuit. And they don't want anybody getting elected to office that is not going to fall in line and, you know, dance to that beat. And so I am a big threat to that. And, you know, I'm just appalled. I'm ashamed of them. They used to be my friends. They used to think I was a great person. And all the years I've been coroner, you know, I've been part of the teamwork and getting things done and made them look awful good.
Yeah.
And but when I stepped out of my lane and decided to run for commissioner, it upset the apple cart because they know I'm stubborn.
And you're your own person.
I'm my own person, and I'm not going to do anything based on what somebody wants me to do. I'm going to do it based on what I think is right. And so it's really hard to get elected now because of that. I mean, you know yourself, Dean, there's unprecedented amounts of money that have been dumped in these local campaigns. I mean, when I beat the incumbent, 75% of my campaign money was out of my own pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they raised $29,000 for him. And, you know, there was $59,000 that was raised for another commissioner. So something's wrong. Something is seriously wrong when that kind of money is being put into a local candidate.
Well, it makes it where it's very hard to challenge those incumbents because, as you mentioned, the average person that runs doesn't have those deep pockets to run.
Yeah.
It just about guarantees their re-election. So do we really have, you know, any options there as far as that goes? But you won the primary, which is a big deal.
Yes.
But other than what you've already mentioned, what are some of the other priorities that you think that would be something you'd want to jump on immediately after when the new year starts, after you got into office?
Like I said, I want to look at the budget. I have started talking to different departments, you know, like what is your needs? And of course, the number one need in this county is space. So how do we grow our county government and have enough space, you know, meet the needs of everybody? Because, you know, if you meet the needs of the other elected officials, then you're meeting the needs of the public, and that's the way I feel about it. And, you know, we want them to be able to operate. I want to make sure that things are done fair for seniors. The seniors are often left behind. That's the only piece of legislation that I didn't get passed. I had a bill for 5 years that would protect the citizens or the seniors from what I call compensated care. And the way it is right now, the coroner, if somebody's considered an attended death, can't investigate. Attended death means they're paying a physician that's supposed to know about them. So nursing homes, assisted care, private sitters, people that might exploit a senior. This bill would have encompassed everybody and gave the coroner the power to investigate the death and make sure the person passed away from, you know, a disease state. And so it was hard fought, and it was really kind of ironic as far as how bills go. I don't know if people, I'm telling you, you need to spend time at the Capitol because it'll shock you.
It will shock you.
it'll shock you. And, you know, there was so much opposition, of course, you know, from the nursing homes. And, but the senator that was over the Rules Committee he was chairman of Rules at the time, he called me in his office, me and two state senior offices, and he called us in and he said, listen, he said, we want to pass this bill. He said, Vanita, please calm down. He said, this is the most important bill that has ever come across the state, the desk in this state.
Well, that's awesome.
And he said, we have been overwhelmed and consumed because that was the year of tort reform.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you'll quit being mad and you'll calm down, he said, we're going to come back, we'll pass this bill. Well, when they redid the districts, he lost his seat.
Wow.
So I didn't have the pull anymore. Mm-hmm. So the Coroners Association has picked it back up. So hopefully we're going to get it passed. Hopefully we will, because seniors need to be protected. But at the same time, the seniors need to be able, you know, I've always said growing old shouldn't be a job hazard. You know, seniors should be able to have enough food, and they shouldn't have health. And, you know, they need to have affordable. And, you know, one of the things that I want to look at is, you know, right now when you turn 75 in Catoosa County, you're exempt from school tax. So, my husband's 10 years older than I am. All right, we'll have two incomes from Social Security. If my husband passed away before I did, then I would be going back to one income, yeah, and having to assume the same amount of tax. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure it does.
So I would like for us to go back and revisit that and, you know, make a provision. You know, if the eldest spouse passes away, the surviving spouse gets the same break. And I think that's extremely important.
That's a good idea. I haven't heard that before.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
So, you know, I have got, you know, I would have to hire me a wagon and pull around all my ideas, you know, but the main thing is that, you know, the people in District 3, they voted me in, and I won the primary. But like I said, a group of people do not want that seat to go away because it's always been considered the third vote. And so I need folks to mark that ballot. I need them to come out in groves and mark that ballot, because ultimately at the end of the day, Dean, they're not campaigning against me, they're campaigning against the citizens in District 3.
Yeah. You won the primary.
I won the primary.
Exactly. Well, there you go. We've been visiting with Vanita Hullander, who's the candidate for the Republican candidate for District 3 in Catoosa County Board of Commissioners. Be sure and get out there and vote. Every vote counts. So be sure and show up on election day if you don't early vote or vote in by mail. Thank you very much.
Thank you.